Welcome to your Montana Legislature Session in Review, brought to you by MPAN, the Montana Public Affairs Network. We've come to the end of the 69th Montana Legislative Session. Let's revisit some moments and issues before this legislature. The 69th Montana Legislature convened on Monday, January 6th at noon.
Will please come to order.
Protect and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Montana.
Inevitably, there's going to be hard days, and there's going to be long days ahead. There's going to be days when it's harder to be patient. Now we'll move on to the business of the day.
Thank you, members. You may be seated.
When things get hot, and I know that they will, let's remember there is very much we agree on it. We all love our state, we love the people that live here, and by swearing this oath, we are already making a sacrifice, putting people's interests above our own.
The Montana Legislature is a special place. Every 2 years, the people of this chamber put their lives on hold to come here. We are members of a citizen legislature. We bring with us our unique backgrounds and experiences, and we use those with input from the public to guide us in our deliberations. Being here is a special, unique experience. So congratulations to each and every person for winning election and being given the ability to serve our great state here in the Montana Legislature.
Let us remember that every debate we have, every vote we cast, carries the weight of 1.1 million voices who demand their values, their freedoms, and their futures be protected.
Mr. President, I offer you the gavel, the ceremonial gavel, sir. Good luck and Godspeed.
We are here to report the Montana State Senate is organized and ready for business, and all the best of luck to you here in the House.
Senator Esp, 50 senators are present.
A quorum being present, the Senate of the 69th Legislature is ready for business. Senator McGilvray.
Senator Esp, I move that the rules of the Senate and Senate Resolution 1 and the joint rules as reflected in Senate Joint Resolution 1 printed and placed on members' desks this day and be adopted as a temporary operating rules of the 69th Legislature.
Senator Flowers, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a substitute motion that the rules of the Senate and the joint rules as reflected in SJ1S are amended for the document that is now being distributed be adopted as a temporary rules for the 69th Legislature. This change is pretty simple in the temporary rules. It takes the Executive Branch Review Committee and relegates that to an on-call committee. It takes the existing members that were put on the Executive Branch Review Committee and it reassigns them to other Class 1 committees.
Thank you, Senator Flowers. Discussion on the motion. Senator McGilvray.
Thank you, Dean. I would resist this motion. We have already talked about this in rules. Rules Committee voted out a clean set of rules. And so I would urge all of us to vote no on this motion. We had previously agreed with Senator Ellsworth on this, and so this is news to me, and I encourage all of you to vote no.
Further discussion.
I too am going to resist this motion. Committees did great work on setting up the committees as set up in the original motion, along with the Rules Committee that has passed this out. I'd say we need to keep it the way it is and move forward with the session that way. Thank you.
We have members on this committee that are experienced legislators. The experience that we would be lacking in the other committees would harm us as a body as a whole. So Until there's an actual necessity that's deemed appropriate, then I think we just support the temporary, and again, it's temporary, rules.
So you have before you the substitute motion of Senator Flowers that the rules of the Senate and joint rules reflected on the copies on your desk become the temporary rules of the 69th Legislature. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? If not, the clerk will record the vote.
Mr. Chair, 27 senators voted aye, 23 have voted no.
27 members voting aye, 23 voting no. The motion of Senator Flowers has been approved.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege now to present to you and the people of Montana the Governor of the great state of Montana, the Honorable Greg Gianforte.
In early January, the Governor's State of the State address laid out his priorities for the session.
Just last week, we gathered on the front steps of the Capitol to commit to 4 more years of strong, conservative leadership. We're building a firm foundation on our shared commitment to fiscal responsibility. One of my top priorities is delivering meaningful, permanent property tax relief for Montanans in 2025. The bill needs to become law by the middle of February. For too long, though, Montana teachers, especially those just beginning their careers, have not been compensated properly for their work. I welcome legislation to my desk that provides privacy and security to women and girls. Because a man shouldn't be in a woman's restroom, shouldn't be in a woman's shower room, and shouldn't be housed in a woman's prison. Let's face reality, folks. We already have a partisan Supreme Court in Montana. They're nonpartisan in name only. May God bless you. God bless our United States and this great state of Montana.
You can find the full State of the State address on MPAN's YouTube channel.
Montana loves Medicaid. Montana loves Medicaid. Montana loves Medicaid. Can't hear you in there. Montana loves.
Early in the session, citizens and legislators rallied at the Capitol in favor of Medicaid expansion.
We're gathered here, of course, today because health care for nearly 80,000 Montanans is at risk.
Lift the sunset!
With Montana's Medicaid expansion program set to sunset, a coalition of legislators brought House Bill 245, which would lift the sunset and continue the program.
If we choose to end the program that provides our low-income citizens with a pathway to getting healthy, a pathway to getting help with addiction, and a pathway to prosperity through employment, I think we're going to pay for it down the road, and I think it's going to cost the state a heck of a lot more than we pay with this program.
The federal government is up to its ears in debt, and we know that things are changing. Things have been changing rapidly.
They're looking at cuts. They're looking at spending too, which is unfortunate, but Medicaid might be part of their cuts.
This is extremely low fruit. They give us $900 million to run this program every year.
The Montana Medicaid model is a major winner.
Without rural hospitals, I don't think my dad would be here. Without things like Medicare or Medicaid, 13,000 people in Indian communities like my dad would go without things like basic health care costs.
While I was at work, my appendix exploded. Ended up with a hospital bill, I think at that time of, I don't know, $20,000 or $25,000. I ended up having to file bankruptcy because, you know what? That's a bill I couldn't pay.
The result of this policy, notwithstanding its monstrous economic consequences, will be the state taking control of many of our life choices and being forced to ration health care.
Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his or her vote? If not, the clerk will record the vote.
House Bill 245 was passed and signed into law by the governor in late March.
Acknowledging biological realities should not be complicated or controversial.
This session, multiple bills regarding gender were introduced at the legislature.
Thank you for the opportunity to present House Bill 121, protecting privacy, safeguarding dignity, and ensuring safety for women and children in vulnerable places.
I am very concerned that SB 164 is bordering on government-sanctioned persecution of a group.
Montanans believe in integrity and hard work. Our female athletes are a great example. They deserve to know they are competing on a level playing field.
We're told this bill will create more safety, and it won't. If anything, it'll create more property taxes and less privacy.
Because children are not equipped to make life-altering medical decisions with irreversible consequences, the adults who are making these decisions on their behalf must be held accountable under the law.
This bill would force me, a trans male, to use a woman's restroom because it defines me as female.
There's a big difference between men and women and their strength, and this may come as a shock, but men hit the ball a lot harder than women.
The reality is simple. Biological differences matter. Pretending they don't creates confusion, discomfort, and danger.
So I would ask that you leave trans people alone. Let me be the woman I'm happy to be. Let me live my life. Vote no.
Several of these bills, including House Bill 300, House Bill 121, Senate Bill 437, and House Bill 400, made their way to the governor's desk to become law. You can see the full bill text for any bill on the legislature's Bill Explorer at legmt.gov.
The legislature has broad policymaking authority, including over many parts of the judiciary. We welcome legislation that addresses and resolves policy problems in our midst. But I urge you to reject legislation that will undermine the effective functioning of the judiciary, not because judges don't like it, but because it will ultimately harm Montana citizens. So in conclusion, I thank you for your gracious invitation to share my thoughts on the state of the judiciary. Now it's time for me to get back to doing my job. I leave you here with the assurance that I will not try to do your job.
And before you today, you have Senate Bill 13.
One of the governor's main priorities this session was judicial reform.
We already have partisan judicial elections in Montana. As a former candidate for the Montana Supreme Court in 2016, that truth struck me in the gut.
No person or persons charged with the exercise of power properly belonging to one branch can exercise any power properly belonging to either of the others. Yet, in spite of those very clear constitutional prohibitions, some legislators have charged ahead with an unbridled enthusiasm and proposed 27 different encroachment bills that aim to strip, mutate, or diminish the powers allocated to the judicial branch.
And we've had judicial candidates that have served as legislators and served in statewide offices as a member of one party or another. I don't hold the belief that if they serve as a representative or a senator or a statewide office for one party, that all of a sudden once they get elected, they're nonpartisan.
Montana public does not want partisan judicial races. Time and time again, polls have shown, even very recent polling, that Montanans want less politics in their lives, not more.
Look at the contributions, the millions of dollars that poured into this last race, and where the sources came from. There wasn't any, well, I wonder what philosophy they support.
Is adding partisanship to people who we want then to sit on a bench and take off that partisanship really the best way?
I certainly do. I think this is a good voter information bill, and I recommend that you do push that green button.
Mr. Chair, 41 representatives have voted aye, 59 have voted no.
Senate Bill 42 has not been concurred in.
You can rewatch any floor session or committee meeting on the Montana Legislature's website.
Members of the body, when I spoke to you A few Mondays ago on opening day, I said there's going to be some hard days up here. This is going to be one of those hard days.
In the beginning of this January session, Senate leadership was made aware of a contract that was signed by former Senate President Jason Ellsworth for approximately $170,000 of taxpayer money. This last Friday, the initial report of this incident was released by the legal representation in our audit division. You have a copy of that on your desk. They substantiated the facts on the first part of this investigation of a violation of procurement laws and quoted from this memorandum, actions taken by former Senate President Ellsworth constituted abuse of his position as Senate President and that a waste of state resources occurred.
Montanans expect that our government, and particularly their elected representatives, act in the interests of the people of the state with transparency and integrity. The allegations and the findings of the audit report are serious. They must be addressed. The Senate Ethics Committee is the proper place to investigate, debate, reach conclusions on the senator's conduct, and ultimately to recommend to us as a body how to address this issue.
Mr. President, members of the committee, I would agree. This is a distraction, and it needs to be taken care of quickly, efficiently, effectively, with no bias. So I am in full support of dealing with this. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion vote aye. Those opposed vote no. The 49 voting yes and 0 voting no, the motion has passed.
Today we will continue our adjudicatory hearing.
You know, I asked to bid on a job, was told yes, I bid on it. You know, I got the contract and then immediately it was politicized. The way that everything's been, you know, weaponized is sad to say the least.
I have been very clear here that my goal is a factual finding. I've been very clear that I do not want this document to include legal conclusions. I don't want this document to include opinions or assumptions. We have spent days trying to make sure that that is true and that we as a committee can sign on to a document that's factually accurate. That is a foundation for me of this work, and I take it very seriously.
I motion to adopt the committee report as amended, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I am going to say that I just want to thank everyone for your work on this. I think this is a tremendous testimony to the work ethic of the committee, of staff, of everyone who worked on this. So I just want to thank you on the record before this vote. All in favor, say aye. 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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks again.
I move to expel the senator from Senate District 43 for good cause.
Let me be very clear. I did not violate any of our Senate rules or state laws or state regulations or procedures. I did not attempt to use my position for personal or private gain. And I received no personal or private gain.
I don't believe what we just heard from the person in seat 31.
Do the facts presented in the Ethics Committee report before us demonstrate that the senator, his behavior betrayed the public trust and the integrity of the Montana State Senate? I believe the answer is yes, a strong, resounding, and unequivocal yes. That being said, I do not believe, Mr. President, the matter before us merits the expulsion of a member.
I know some of you would prefer a censure. That's just a slap on the hand. He gets away with it once again. This behavior will not stop unless we stop it today.
I do think we will eventually get to a censure. I don't think this body is ready to do that yet. Right now, we haven't the votes to do either one. And so we're going to have to figure out a plan.
This is in Article 5, Section 10, which requires 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the substitute motion vote aye. All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his or her vote? With 27 voting yes and 23 voting no, a motion has failed.
Therefore, I move that Senator Ellsworth be punished for good cause as follows. The senator from Senate District 43 is removed from the Senate standing committees and will not be assigned to legislative interim committees during the 25 biennium. The senator from Senate District 43 is not allowed to have verbal contact with executive branch directors or legislative staff. His Senate floor privileges are rescinded for life.
With due respect to my friend, the majority leader, I guess I don't really see what has changed in the last week that would change my mind that expulsion is the most appropriate punishment.
This motion that's brought by the majority leader, I appreciate it. Something similar to what we raised last week with you, Mr. President, and with the majority leader. Goes a little bit farther. That's okay. I think that's the nature of a compromise.
I have some deep concerns about the fairness of the process from its inception. Specifically, when the Ethics Committee was convened, the choice of Matthew Monforton as the counsel, and I think that this is just too close to expulsion for my liking. So, just the political witch hunt needs to stop, and I'm just going to be a no.
All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? And does any member wish to change his or her vote? If not, Secretary, record the vote.
After multiple motions, the senator was censured, removed from committees, and banned from the Senate floor for life, but was not removed from office.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be joined today by my friend, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida.
In March, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis visited Helena to speak to the Montana Legislature, meet with Governor Gianforte, and to promote a constitutional amendment requiring Congress to balance the budget each year.
We can't expect Washington to impose permanent fiscal restraints on itself. That's why we need a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
The states are not going to be successful if federal spending and the Congress does not get under control. When the turn of the 21st century happened, we were about $5.6 trillion in debt as a country. Today, 25 years later, we're at over $36 trillion in debt. Just the interest that we pay to service our existing debt is over $1 trillion annually. That's more than what we spend on the core function of the federal government, our national defense.
The federal government, just like every business and every family and most states, need to live within their means. We need to match revenue with expenses.
Montana's constitution already requires a balanced budget every year. You can find all of Governor Gianforte's press conferences on MPAN's YouTube channel.
Members of the committee, you have before you for your consideration House Bill 2. The clerk will read the title of the bill.
The only bill the legislature is constitutionally required to pass each session is House Bill 2. House Bill 2 appropriates the entire budget for state government.
It's my honor to bring House Bill 2, Montana's main budget bill, to the floor. It represents a balanced, responsible, and sustainable budget.
The budget is a statement of our values. It's a statement of the values of the people of Montana.
This budget, like all budgets, will be too large for some, I hear from them. It'll be too small for others, I hear from them.
The people of Montana deserve a fair budget that makes life more affordable and provides them the freedom that comes from economic security and good health.
Montana does a good job of budgeting. It has always produced a balanced budget, and I intend to have this the same way.
It has had many, many hours of hard work. We've heard from hundreds of people across the state, lots of public input.
I think it was good work. I hope you'll all support it. Let's send it on to the Senate and let the work continue. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The House Bill 2 is 18% larger than the 25 biennium, and my constituents did not send me here to spend 18% more than we did 2 years ago, and so I will be a no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have a general fund budget that has grown by 17%. You're going to have to start cutting. And you're going to have to start cutting some programs that you might really like.
The further we got into this session, the more we forgot about the fact that taxing individuals is directly related to how we spend money. And of late, I have just seen the money just being doled out like crazy.
We're going to have an ending fund structural balance surplus of $522 million. Look at where we're at now on the graph. Right there, the big headline, negative $500 million. We have spent it all over twice. We got a lot of tax policy coming up, big choices to make on that. Hopefully, we can start prioritizing here in the last few days of session some sort of tax relief instead of all of this spending.
Mr. Chairman, 27 senators vote aye and 23 senators vote nay.
House Bill 2 has been concurred in on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 2, introduced by Jones, a bill for an act entitled General Appropriations Act.
House Bill 2, having been read through several times, question is the bill be passed by the House.
The House gave its final approval of House Bill 2 on the very last day of session.
Does any member wish to change their vote? If not, the clerk record the vote.
Mr. Speaker, 66 representatives have voted aye, 34 have voted no.
House Bill 2 has passed the House.
The bill now heads to the governor's desk for consideration.
Now, as our agenda continues to make its way through the legislature, I thought I'd take a moment today to highlight where we stand. As we get down to the wire, the legislature is working hard to make progress on the to-do list that the people of Montana have given us. I understand they're getting close on our proposal to increase starting teacher pay.
Members of the committee, you now have before you House Bill 252.
Probably no surprise to anybody in this body that I rise in strong support of this bill. It is some much needed funding to our public schools to directly impact our teacher wages and specifically our beginning teacher wages.
Some of you may know that I'm so tight I squeak when I walk, but I do support public education and I support it fiercely.
It's high time. This kind of resets the balance. I think it'll be a wonderful step forward.
The most important thing is that it provides for a changing in the funding formulas for school districts to supply more money and a higher rate of return, higher rate of wages for beginning teachers.
Again, I applaud the efforts of all the different stakeholders. I know it's not perfect, it never is, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it's good policy as we move into our decennial study here at the end of the session. So I strongly urge a green vote. Thank you.
Large bipartisan investments were made in education, including the passing of the STARS Act, which appropriated $100 million to improve starting teacher pay.
We have the opportunity now. If we don't accomplish the property tax, it's on us, people. If we don't accomplish property tax relief, it's on us.
The final days were spent trying to finish up work on property tax relief, something they had been working on all through the session.
I'm disappointed we, as a legislator, have not been able to come up with something better for our citizens in the way of property tax relief. Let's face it, everyone wants the service, but nobody wants to pay for it.
We were looking at this bill and it looked like it might be the home run. I'm afraid this particular bill is getting to look too much like Frankenstein, and I just can't support it at this point in time. So,
just curious about how you feel about that, the task force's sort of main proposal getting tabled at this point.
Let me be really clear. I think the legislature and our office, all of us in elected office, have been given a mandate by the people of Montana to implement permanent property tax relief in this session.
Mr. Chair, Senate Bill 542, introduced by Galt, a bill for an act entitled, an act generally revising tax laws.
What is your pleasure, Mr. Speaker?
Is this bill going to do everything that we want it to, everything that everybody in this room wants it to do? No. Does it do everything I want it to do? No. But what it does do is it actually makes a difference in property taxes.
I encourage you to be very cautious on amendments, and let's look toward getting concurrence from the Senate so that we have a real, viable, and long-term solution to Montana property tax.
House amendments to Senate Bill 542 have not been concurred in.
Senate Bill 542 is far from perfect, and while we had hoped to see some direct assistance for low-income renters, we appreciate Senate Bill 542's rate structure that will also factor in long-term rentals.
Senate Bill 542 is going to create a shift onto some of Montana's largest employers. This bill creates an additional sort of complexity, expense for businesses that are looking at Montana and their investment in this state.
Mr. Chairman, I move acceptance of each disputed amendment in its entirety in the 542 bill. And by that I mean, if hopefully I said that correctly, I think we need to change nothing. This was a hearing about the amendments on 542. I move that we accept them as they are, of the each disputed amendments in its entirety.
Yes. Representative Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Chair Galt?
Yes.
Senator Kazmaier?
Yes.
Senator Fern?
Yes.
With that, 542 will go back to the floor.
Mr. President, 28 senators vote aye, 22 will vote no.
With 28 voting yes and 22 voting no, Senate Bill 542 is passed the Senate.
Members of the committee, you have before you for your consideration Conference Committee report on House Bill 231.
Fixed mill language in 542 wasn't correct, so we reactivated 231.
This bill is further discouragement from those kind of industries. We're shifting more and more of a tax load onto our pipelines, our electrical generation facilities.
I talked to a lot of people in my district who are livid about what we've done or not done. It's not what you sent us here to do, and I'm sorry, and I wish that I had a better story. But that cake was baked. You know, we got here, this policy was already decided. You know, unfortunately, it's our constituents that have to eat that stale, moldy piece of cake now.
I'm going to try to step away from the smoke and mirrors and get to the bakery thing. Yeah, the cake might have been baked. It should have been baked. We should have had it out of the oven earlier. And now we're doing the best we can. Vote green.
This is going to impact owner dwellings and long-term rentals positively. As for what we came here to do, I came here to help residential owner dwellings get a tax cut. This bill, well, let's say this bill in conjunction with 542 does that.
Madam Chair, 69 representatives have voted aye, 31 have voted no.
Conference Committee report to House Bill 231 has been adopted.
The passage of House Bill 231 and SB 542 on the very last day signaled an end to the 69th Montana legislative session.
Imagine doing this for eight years. 4 sessions. We have 8 of us here in the chamber today that have done exactly that. And I'd like to give them a final farewell on the microphone.
So, we'll cut to the chase. We don't accomplish much by constant turf wars. Think about that one a sec. Diversity and broad views can be a good thing, a great thing.
It's been exhilarating, it's been exasperating, but it's always been, I would say, entertaining, fun, and it's like a big mystery. How's this going to turn out?
What I learned watching that incredible group of people in my first summer here was that Montanans care deeply about land. They care about their water, they care about the critters, they care about the landscapes that they manage, and they care about their friends and neighbors and communities, and they're always there for them. And in simple terms, what that taught me is Montanans take care of each other.
And I will never forget my time in the Senate. It was what I was looking for when I got out of the military. It has been so rewarding to serve with you and to help the people of Montana.
When everything else is forgotten, we'll remember the people that we got to serve here. We'll remember those that we got to love, respect, and work with.
You put your hand in the stream and you make a difference. And then you lift your hand out, and it's like you were never there.
I've tried my best to do
the work up here to represent the people. And I've always done it with the words of one of my idols in mind, Vince Lombardi. And he said, a winner finds a way, a loser finds an excuse. And I've always kind of held that close, because if something's important and you need to do it, then you find those allies, you create those relationships, you find people that'll fight with you to do what's right.
Seriously, it has been an honor to serve in the House of Representatives. It has not always been a pleasure, but it has definitely been an honor.
I'm going to be frank, the cooperation we saw across the aisle this time gives me reason to hope.
When I travel and I tell other politicians from other states that Montana is a citizen legislature and that we are real people with real jobs and we're not professional politicians, I think that impresses a lot of people in other states, and many people say they wish that their government was the same. Days like this, I think back to a couple moments in the Senate. One was from Senator Vincent, who stood on the floor and he said, "It's amazing how fast it goes." And I remember at the time I thought he was crazy, but it does go fast. And another one was from Senator Scott Sales, who says, "You come to this and you don't expect it, but you make some of the best friends of your life."
Majority Leader McGilvery.
Mr. President, I move to sign and die.
Heard the motion to sign and die. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll go to the board. All those in favor, sign and die for the 69th legislative session, vote aye. All those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his or her vote? Secretary, record the vote.
Mr. President, 36 senators vote aye, 14 have voted no.
With 36 voting yes and 14 voting no, the motion of sine die, the 69th legislative session has passed, and we are adjourned.
It has been the honor of my life to serve your speaker. I will carry this experience with me forever. Every debate, every challenge, and every late night, and every handshake across the aisle. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for believing in this institution. And thank you for loving Montana enough to serve her. May God bless you. May God continue to bless our great state of Montana. The Montana House of Representatives have adjourned sine die for the 69th legislative session.